What a disaster zone. Of my own making though this time, so that's fine. Oh, I have to say I'm a bit tired after yesterday's efforts. So I've got 3 more things to fit, and then I have to wait for the reorder from SCG. So the first thing I'm looking at is getting these drawers fitted into this hole here. Now, in case any of you are thinking of buying one of these, a little tip for you. The release mechanisms are rather peculiar. There's a little bit of black plastic here, and you have to move one on one side up, and then on the other side it's down. So that's very confusing, because I was trying to pull them both up at the same time and pull the drawers out, and it didn't work, so I pushed them both down at the same time and tried to pull the drawers out, and that didn't work. So it took me 15 minutes just to work out how to get a drawer out. Right, so I'm going to see if I can get this in place. What I found with my particular circumstance was that these legs that are screwed on at the back are a little bit too long, and they don't travel very far inside the carcass, so I had to cut a little bit of this off so I can get the thing in here. I've got a bit of a lip here, I think. It's just a little bit of it's 5mm or less too small on the height with the legs fully extended, or fully retracted I should say. So right, let's crack on. Right, well, in the time lapse, of course, it looked like I'd completed the job, but in fact I hadn't, because when I stepped back I realised the drawers were a bit skew-if. I haven't been able to level them off entirely, and indeed one of the problems is that the floor tiles aren't actually flat, sorry, not flat, level. So, neither is the counterwork top upright. So it all sort of looks a bit out slightly if you look carefully. One of the other things that happened was that when fixing the frame into the countertop, the sides have obviously deflected because the drawers wouldn't fit onto the runners anymore. They were slipping off at this end, at the opening. So the whole thing was a bit shaky and wobbly, and I could see that we were going to, once the drawers were in use and have got things in them, I could see that was going to cause a problem. So in the end, what I decided to do was pack out the runners. Don't know if you can see that. So I've packed out the runners. I've used one washer on the second screw hole, and I've used two in the front here, just on this left side. And now they fit perfectly, and they run nicely, and there's no wobbling at the end when they're open. So that's another little job that's been done. Again, it's a bit annoying when you think about this as a brand new unit, and I'm having to basically repair it to make it work. But that's what happens when it's plastic, you see. It deforms so easily when you're screwing it that it's bound to give you problems of some sort. It's similar to the problem I had with the hanging of the cupboards, where the last one, the door wouldn't close, and it was because the whole of the cupboard was twisted slightly because it needed packing behind one of the screws. Right, so what have I got to do next? I've got to put these two counter doors in here, and then that's it until we get the new order from SCG. Oh, I'm a bit out of breath. That cupboard was a bit of a bugger. That white one I've just fitted. It seemed to go in all right, but then the right-hand door wouldn't close. It was catching, so obviously the frame was twisted. And in the end, I had to take it out and trim off the top right-hand corner of the counter, the interior of the counter. This one is even worse. This originally was going to be a space for a drawer unit, the same as I've just fitted, but the chap built it to the incorrect size. He built it for a single counter door. So I decided we would forego the drawers and just have a single counter door. But it turns out that although it seems that the external tiles are the right dimensions for it, he's laid the interior tiles sitting proud around the edge. Well, certainly up to there, that was proud. And then, as you can see there, it's proud going up to about here. So I'm having to chop these out to get them to the right size, and I'm hoping that when I've done that, the door will just slide in, and that will be the end of the matter. I'm just hoping that I've checked, and as far as I can make out, the external tiles are okay. It's just the internal ones that need to be hacked around. So it's all very, very labour intensive, this, and fiddly, but I'm actually quite enjoying it because it's something I'm doing and I know I can do it right. And that probably sounds very big-headed, but I know that the troubles I've had with this kitchen so far, the Thais probably would have just bodged it and said, yeah, that's all right, it's done. And I would have come along later thinking, well, what the hell do I do now? Because I don't know how it was fitted. So I'm very happy to be doing this job and sorting out the issues that go along. And then I know exactly what's what, and it will be good. Right, I'm going to interrupt the time lapse there just to explain a couple of things. So this sink comes with all its plumbing and a tap, and that's all gone on very, very nicely actually. And I've just hand tightened everything because there's a rubber washer involved, so you don't need to over tighten the things mechanically because that will just distort the washers. Now, with regards to the tap, I've changed a couple of things after my experience with the tap in the garage. So what I did is I ordered and collected various washers, rubber washers, plastic washers, new locking nuts in metal because they're stronger. These plastic ones, when you tighten them to their ultimate so that it will actually hold the tap from swiveling around and moving, what happens is the thread gives because it's just plastic. So I've collected a few of these basically different profiles here, different heights, so that if you've got an awkward position underneath the sink you can still get hold of it with something. Some of them are a bit thinner than others, like this one here, you see. It's not as deep where the nut is. So what I've done with this is I've actually put a large washer underneath because the hole is only just smaller than the provided fixings. So there's no way it's going to grip properly and be steady for the rest of its life. So I put a big washer there, then their rubber washer, and then my new fitting here, which should be stronger than the plastic one. And then on the other side what I've done is I've used a trim from what is it's a stainless steel trim that normally goes around a tap sticking out of a wall in a bathroom. And underneath that is a thick washer, so that both of those are actually covering the hole really well. And then between that and the tap is their original rubber washer, so the tap can seat itself down on those things. So I'm hoping that will give a much sturdier result and a longer life result, and it will stop any leaks getting down under the sink. Because ultimately, if you've got a tap that's ill-fitting in that position, you get water going underneath, and then water underneath just causes problems with dirt, and it encourages cockroaches and other things to live there because it's nice and warm and moist. And we know what happens when you've got a nice warm moist area, don't we, chaps? Right, let's crack on with the fitting. Right, that seems to have gone pretty well, to be honest with you. The only snag was that I was expecting to open white silicone and it turns out to be clear. But that's not a problem. I'll clean that up before it gets dry, do that in a minute. And then when I get some white silicone, I'll run a bead around the edge anyway, because I need to add a bit more at the front where the tiles slope down slightly and there's a gap. It's sealed now with the silicone, but I just want to tidy it up so it looks nice. under here I've connected the water up. Now when I was putting this pipe in for the water that's coming in from the mains, a couple of people said, why have you got that fitting facing down? Because what they would do is they'd have it sticking straight out of the wall. And I said, well, the reason for that is because you don't want to have stress on this white pipe. So I deliberately took it away from where I knew the sink was going to be, because it was quite close coming out of the wall here. If I just had it sticking out here, I would have had to connect the end here, and it would have had to have been a short pipe. And the thing is, the bend going up to where the connection is up there would have been very tight. So you would have had a very, very tight curve, which just means that at each end it's getting stressed because there's pressure pushing it away like this. So what I've done is I've deliberately given it plenty of room and bought a longer pipe, so that that now has got absolutely no stress on the fittings at the end, because it just flows down and it's a gentle curve and comes up again like that. And it's that sort of detail that I was thinking about, that I thought, no, they wouldn't bother with that, you see. They just connect it up and say, there you go, it's connected. And then it wouldn't be too long before the stress was causing leaks to happen, because things were twisting inside the fitting. Now, with regard to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece on top, a reducer, and then I'm just going to push that down inside the reducer, so that it can drain and it's not connected. I'm not particularly worried about smells, because it's draining straight out into the field, so there's no sort of, it's not connected to a mains drain where you're going to, like in Europe or the UK where I'm from, everything's connected to the mains drainage, and you get sewer gas that can come back up because everything goes down there. But this is just going to be water from the sink and the washing machine that's going out into the field, so there really won't be much of a problem with the smell. But if for some reason later on there is, then I can always alter the fittings. But at least this way it's nice and easy and loose. I think it's fitted in if it doesn't have to be. It makes for maintenance being much easier. Okay, what's the next job? I think the next job is just to tidy around, because I think I need to do some painting next. I need to start painting these walls with their primer coat. So I really need to have a good tidy up